As you know, RNC Day 1 was last night. Looking forward to watching a little bit of Day 2 tonight, and I want to get reaction certainly from those that are in the Trump administration and those that are working for President Trump. And this man we have with us on the line right now is no exception. He is the Trump campaign press secretary. Been working with Donald Trump for years. That would be Hogan Gidley joining us again on the line. Hogan, thank you so much for joining us again. How are you?
Absolutely. Anytime. I always appreciate it.
Appreciate that, Hogan. All right, so before we get to the RNC, let's talk about your reaction to the DNC. I guess we could get to the negatives, but are there any positives that you saw? Any nice stories that you said, well, that was a nice moment? Anything positive you could say about what you saw from the DNC?
Look, I think the story of the little kid overcoming a stutter, I thought that was really a sweet moment.
Mm-hmm. Agree.
I thought that was good. I thought, yeah, that's all I got.
That's all, really.
Nice moment I got.
Hold on a second. I mean, come on. How about Jill Biden and Joe Biden, just how they met and their love story? You're telling me you didn't think that was positive at all? Come on, be honest, Hogan.
Oh, hold on. It is positive. That's really sweet. It was very kind. It was an endearing story. In no way does it make him qualified to be president of the United States. Meet cutes don't mean you need to sit in the Oval Office and run the country.
I'll agree with that.
Okay, I hear what you're saying, but don't you think to be a good person, to not have 3 different wives and have kids from 3 different women, to not have 25-plus women that have accused you of rape or sexual assault probably is not a good thing either? I don't mean to be rude about it, but Joe Biden is a decent man. Don't you think that's a fair argument to make?
Hey, my granddad's a great guy. Don't think he should be the president of the United States.
But your
he's kind.
Okay.
I mean, look, here's the thing. The 2 themes were we hate Donald Trump. Yep, got it. You've hated Donald Trump since the moment he came out of the escalator. And the second was Joe Biden's a nice guy. Good, but that's not necessarily a qualification to be president of the United States. If you notice, they didn't run a convention around the messaging of a 50-year career in elected office with any accomplishment whatsoever for Joe Biden. None. All they said was, he's a nice guy, and he'll be happy to give you a hug.
I agree.
That's it.
Well, listen, I agree with you that they should have talked a little more policy. I agree with you that they should have talked.
It was a very empty platform.
Okay, I agree with you, Hogan. Honest. I agree with you, Hogan, that they should have done a little more of that. All right, let's move on to Donald Trump now. Fair enough, because we have a short time.
Hold on 1 second. Someone said it's an empty platform. It wasn't empty. You didn't see the day. The day was all about getting rid of capitalism, abolishing the police. If you don't have open borders, you're all going to hell.
But hold on.
That was the platform.
Okay, but hold on. Joe Biden does not want to abolish the police. You know that is not factually accurate. He wants to appropriate funds in different categories and police training. He does not want to disband the police. You know that.
No, what I 2 things. One is he wants to defund the police. The platform during the day where the people spoke, like Linda Sarsour, an avowed open, rabid anti-Semite, and others pointed out the fact that they wanted to flat out abolish the police. That wasn't defund, that was abolish. But Joe Biden wants to defund it. And in fact, in his administration, funding for police went down quite a bit, actually, even though he promised to increase funding. So it would be par for the course for Joe Biden.
All right, let's move on to Donald Trump. And I understand, listen, I have respect for you, Hogan. You have a very difficult job, and you're very good at what you do, and your job is to reelect Donald Trump in 2020. I totally understand that, and I respect that. With that being said, you can't say this is a good thing when first Donald Trump's niece puts out this book calling Donald Trump every name in the book, and you've heard the audio of now Donald Trump's sister saying that he has no principles, he's a liar, he's a cheat, he's cruel, and now we're learning that Melania Trump was secretly recorded, and apparently there's going to be audio coming up out of her making some disparaging comments about some members of the Trump family. Hogan, how do you spin this as a good thing? This is not a good thing.
Well, look, all I can tell you about the president is what I know about him, what I've experienced working with him side by side for 3 years. And I know that when he promised to rebuild the military, he did it. When he promised to have good trade deals for the American worker, he did it. When he promised to move the embassy in Israel to Jerusalem, he did it. When he promised to cut taxes, he did it. When he promised to cut regulations, he did it.
I don't doubt that.
At the time, the promises he made to the American people, he kept. That's all I can speak to. I don't know any of this other palace intrigue stuff, any of these other recordings and audio. I can tell you this: his late brother that just passed away.
Yes.
I had the pleasure of speaking with him on multiple occasions as a lot of fake news stories were coming out about the president, and so I had to kind of get together with people and sourcing and find out what the real story was. No one spoke more highly of Donald Trump than his brother. No one was kinder about their relationship. Talked about how strong the president was for the family growing up, how kind of a person he was.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
The ways that he benefited inner city youth, for example, in New York was one of the people told me about. Just time after time after time, he would be there for them. So
listen, Hogan, I totally understand.
That's what I know about Donald
And Hogan, let's not pretend like this is a first-time thing. I mean, Barack Obama's brother said some pretty disparaging things about him as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point, and it's not like everyone who worked in that administration has glowing things to say about their former boss either. The fact is, this president made promises to the American people. He kept them, and I think that's what's important. Okay. It's not about look, every family has an issue or two inside of it, but I don't think the American people are going to vote on those matters.
I want
to how this president actually affects their family.
Okay, so I want
on with his own family.
I want to move on to the RNC, but I have to say one thing you said about promises. If you recall, in 2016 and 2015, Donald Trump campaigned on we're going to build a wall and Mexico is going to pay for it. Mexico did not pay for a wall. That was a promise. He also said he was going to do everything he could to try to lock up Hillary Clinton. That didn't happen either. So I just want to put that out there. Not every
Two things. That investigation is still ongoing, so let's all calm down on that. And second of all, he never said I'm going to build a wall and Mexico's going to cut me a check like they do.
He said I'm going to build a wall and Mexico's going to pay for it. He said it almost every day.
Yeah, but he didn't say they were going to cut a check and walk it across the border and say,
Hogan, come on,
billions of dollars.
Hogan, come on. You're a smart guy.
He has talked about many ways Mexico can pay for it, whether they be through fees for citizenship, whether it be for crossing into the border type fees.
But the wall hasn't been built.
Things he talked about. He's got over 300 miles built. What are you talking about?
Border
crossings are down. Child trafficking is down. What are you talking about?
Mexico did not pay for the wall, period.
And Brian, he made a conscious...
And the entire wall has not been built. It has been revamped, I guess you could say, but that's not...
No. Hold on. Two things. One is we have many miles of new wall.
How many miles?
If I took down a picket fence in your front yard and I built a 30-foot high steel fence, you wouldn't go, it's replacement fence. It's new wall.
How many miles of the wall has been built?
Over 300 now. There'll be about 400 by the time the election gets here.
By the time so how come the entire wall hasn't been built then? Am I lying by saying that he didn't fulfill his promise?
He's in the process of building a wall.
Building a wall. What are you talking about? He's building it right now. He just went down there to Arizona last week.
Well, my point is when you campaign every day and you say we're going to build a wall and Mexico is going to pay for it, I think that's a little bit misleading. But I do want to move on to the Republican National Convention, if I may. And let's talk a little bit about that, Hogan. If you're just joining us, it's Hogan Gidley, Trump campaign press secretary. So the RNC chair, Ronna McDonald, spent her speech ripping the DNC for having Hollywood celebrity Eva Longoria. Meanwhile, at the beginning of the RNC yesterday, it was Jon Voight. Don't you think that's a little bit hypocritical?
Well, look, first of all, there were MCs every single night of a different Hollywood celebrity, a different Hollywood star. This is Jon Voight doing a voiceover for one of the videos. Far different. Also, it's not like this party, the Republicans, are known as being the party of Hollywood. This is a party of the heartland, and I think you're going to be able to tell a massive difference between both conventions just on that front alone. They always placate to the radical left in California and the Hollywood elites, the tech elites, the tech giants. That's not what our party's about, and you see that. I mean, you saw that with speakers yesterday. You see real people that have had their lives impacted positively by this president's policies. But that's important that we need to showcase the fact that it's the American people who can tell our story, whereas Joe Biden, after half of a century, has no one to tell his story but someone from Hollywood. That's a marked difference.
Isn't Clint Eastwood from Hollywood? Do we remember the chair incident that took place? What was that all about? Isn't Clint Eastwood a Hollywood celebrity?
You're using two exceptions that prove the rule. You're like, remember that one time?
No, it's not one time. It happens.
One guy.
It happens every 4 years. Scott Baio. Every 4 years, you guys have celebrities up there too. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, Hogan. Don't get me wrong. All I'm simply saying is that when you have the RNC chairwoman,
you're saying both parties do.
Yeah. Why do we have to criticize either party for doing it? I don't understand. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, that's fine. No. I'm just telling you, like, we have one guy doing a voiceover, and you're trying to compare that to an MC who shepherds the entire evening, all people from Hollywood. It's not the same comparison, but okay.
It's definitely a false equivalency at a minimum. Yeah. That being said, I'm a giant Trump supporter, and I have one issue with with the RNC. And honestly, it's the fact that I think too many Trumps are speaking. I think there's 5 Trumps speaking. I wish someone like a Candace Owens or a Leo Taro or a Larry Elder or a Brandon Straka is speaking. Do you think that too many Trumps are speaking at this convention? And it's becoming more about, and again, I'm a giant Trump supporter here, it's becoming more about the Trump family than it is the party, especially the future of the party, Hogan.
A couple of things. We have 127 speakers, I think. We have, 4 that maybe have the last name Trump. That's the fact. The second is, if they didn't have any family members, what we'd be hearing is, well, why are they not speaking? My goodness, they know their dad best. It must be hiding them because there's a rift within the family, and then we'd have all this palace intrigue stuff. And third, I just point out, how many Bidens or extended family members did we hear from in their convention? I mean, Jill spoke, Hunter spoke, his daughter spoke, all of Jill's sisters spoke. Like, I'm confused. Is it okay or is it not okay? The fact is, the president has, built a massive, $1 billion empire on the outside of political office, and it's important that the people who do know him best, his children, can make comments about the way their father actually really is that flies in the face of some caricature that the media try to make him out to be. I think that's very significant. It's always impactful and important, and you know as well as I do, I don't have kids yet, but if you guys do, how your kids talk about you is important. I mean, that lets you know what kind of father you've been, what kind of dad you grew into, and when you have all the children willing to go out there and say all these wonderful things, that tells you something about the man.
I agree, but I will also counter, it's also important what some of your other family members say about you, whether it be a current wife or an ex-wife or a sister or brother. Just because it fits your political narrative that his sons are saying nice things about him doesn't mean that only sons count. I think sisters, brothers, and other close family members count as well.
He has daughters too, but let's also look. There's also different motivations for different people. Okay. The fact is, if some of the people you're talking about are Biden supporters, that's fine. If some of them were caught up in a divorce, obviously there's going to be some hurt feelings there. So if we're just talking about who knows the man, who's lived with the man, who's dealt with the man over and over and over again, there's no question it's Eric, Don Jr. and Ivanka and Tiffany, and they all want to get up there and speak and talk about how great their dad is.
Fair enough. Well, Hogan, let me just say this. Like I said, I have a lot of respect for you. You do a great job. I appreciate the fact that you treat me better than Anderson Cooper, so I do want to thank you for that as well, Hogan, because I know that Anderson gets after you a few times when you've been on with him. But no, in all seriousness, Hogan, I always appreciate it when you make your case and you come on our show. I do think you are very good at what you do, and you have a very difficult job. So hopefully we can have you on again down the road before the elections. And I appreciate your time, my friend. Thank you so much.
Would love to anytime. Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks a lot, Hogan.
There you go. That is Hogan Gidley making the case, and I do mean what I said, by the way. He is very good at what he does. Trump campaign press secretary. I got after him a little more today than I did last interview. I pulled back on a few things that he said. But, listen, the bottom line, if you're going to say, well, what your sons say and what your daughters say matters, well, then guess what? What your sister says matters as well. You can't have it both ways. But you know what? Hogan has one job to do, and that is to get Donald Trump reelected in 2020. He's not going to say anything disparaging about Donald Trump because that's his job.
And he's pretty good at his job.
And sometimes you need to spin.
He's clearly very good at his job.
Just like people on the left spin, people on the right spin. And that was a spin, ladies and gentlemen, when he talked about his sons. What his sons say are important, but what his sister says, that's not important. That is a spin, but that's okay. We appreciate him taking the time to join us. All right.